Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to continue our look at Rip-Off Comics. We're up to number 6 here, and I like this little subtitle, Brain Bane of the Lowest Plane. This is an all Gilbert Shelton issue. I forgot to look ahead. I don't know if all the issues are going to be like this from now on, but it's a really good issue, and well, I'll show you why in a second. I gotta say, I love this cover with all the little blocks for each story, all by Gilbert Shelton. And even this kind of multi-hued logo looks pretty nice to me. All around, really sharp cover. We start off with a Fat Freddy's Cat comic. And very typical gag. Fat Freddy sucks as a cat owner. And that's basically the theme. We start off with, after that, we have the Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers in The Death of Fat Freddy. This is by Gilbert Shelton with a lot of help from Paul Mavridis, which is really good on the story, because look at this first panel, very un-Shelton-like. I think he's trying to ape some kind of horror comic, you know? And it's good that Paul Mavridis is there with the inks, because he can do any kind of style, you know? So, this is a good story. Once again, guys, I looked at this in the Fabulous Furry Freak Brother comic, so I'm going to kind of gloss over it, just give you a look at it all. And it's a really fun story. It's almost like a dream story, even though it's not. This whole thing is, like, hard to believe. Basically, Fat Freddy, he did OD, but he didn't die, but it gave him a death-like appearance. I did want to point out once again, this scene is really fun. It's got Spain Rodriguez and Jay Lynch and R. Crumb, Trina, Aileen Kaminsky Crumb, all rummaging through Fat Freddy's stuff after he died. We even see, what's that guy's name? Arnold Peck? Willie Murphy's character. Oh yeah, and there's the Motoring Tips guy by Gilbert Shelton. That's fun stuff when they do stuff like that. So much, I think Shelton really let Mavridis go wild on this. A lot of this looks more Mavridis than Shelton to me. Like this guy's face here and this religious-looking dude. It's, anyway, either way you look at it though, it's great stuff. Really nice art. Look at this great last panel. Fat Freddy comes out of the grave, furious, because he could hear everyone saying shitty things about him after he died. And everything goes back to normal. So guys, this is why this is such a special issue. This is almost like a mini graphic novel. I think it's about 40 pages. Philbert Desanex's 100,000th Dream by Gilbert Shelton. And man, I wanted this to go on for like 200 pages. This was just, Gilbert Shelton is just such a fun cartoonist and writer. And you know, a lot of times Dream comics can just be, I don't know, masturbatory, whatever, foo-for-rah. And, but this is all really fun. So we see Philbert Desanex, that's Wonder Warthog's alter ego, for those who don't know. And he's going to sleep counting sheep. I like how the numbered sheep, one of them is like the square root of 13. And his bed falls out of his apartment. And he wakes up screaming as he's plummeting to the street below. Like, it looks like it's 30 stories high. He goes back to sleep. Now he's in this place where it's just all water. Like a flooded plain. And he looks up at the sky. And he sees these birds. And then this kind of giant predator bird starts eating them. And then a dragon eats that predator bird. And they fly off. I love these little guys. These, I don't know what they are. Let's just call them snorks, because that's the sound they make. It looks like something Chester Brown would draw. And they start chasing him. This dude comes out of nowhere, says, it's safe to come down now. The surface is like candle wax. It has so many dreamlike things where it's like, yeah, dreams do make this little sense. But sometimes that could just be boring. That could just be like kooky weirdness, you know. But this is all really fun stuff. So those snork things attack him. He wakes up again, falls back asleep. He's in the middle of the ocean. surviving a shipwreck, makes it to shore, gets on a train, still in his underwear, just like a lot of those dreams you have. The conductor shows up and says, "You're not wearing a uniform. Don't you know there's a war going on?" And he finds out that he has Tourette syndrome, basically. Every time he tries to explain himself, curses come out. And there's all these colorful hieroglyphics for the curses. They haul him away. The police haul him away. And he goes to trial. There's these 3 old-timey judges with their goofy wigs. And before he can testify, they make him do all these weird contortions. Like it's a game of Twister. They're all like, "Now reach around your leg and grab your ankle." And finally he gets fed up and says, "I'm not taking this abuse. I'm just going to walk right out of here." And it works. The guards are too stunned to do anything. And he gets up to this parapet, climbs up to the roof, and there's an auto guy over there. There's a pilot in it. Kind of looks like Phineas Freak. And he says, "Yeah, I'll give you a ride. There's no room in the cockpit, so you'll have to kind of hitch a ride on top." He drops him off at his house. And it's not his house now. It's his childhood home, which is a common dream thing, you know, where you remember the place where you grew up. The side door is still open. He walks inside, goes to his bedroom. Everything's still the same like when he was a little kid. Clothes don't quite fit him right anymore. And it's almost like he's reliving his childhood, playing with his trains. I like this. It's so funny how Gilbert Shelton, all the comics he draws have a slightly different style. Fat Freddy's cat doesn't look like Freak Brothers. And they don't look like those advanced motoring tips. He almost has a more, I don't know, Art Nouveau style for that. Probably the wrong word. More stylized. And then this is just like old-timey Bigfoot cartooning. But I love it. It's perfect for the subject matter. So he's having dinner with his family. And then he decides to leave. He excuses himself. And he decides to visit his childhood crush, Emmy June. It looks like the parents are gone because the car's missing from the garage. The door's unlocked, so he goes up. He sees Emmy June sleeping. Thinks to himself, I was too shy to talk to her when I was a kid to make advances, but, I've overcome my shyness. He wakes her up, and she grabs him amorously. And she's all like, "Oh, I've missed you so much. Where have you been?" She says, "Do you still have a car?" And she says, "Will you take me away from here? I'm sick of this place." And she says, "We can go to French Guiana." I like how that's such a random dream location, So as they're leaving, the parents come home. And even though she's putting all of her suitcases in the car, they just say, "Oh, okay, if you're going out, honey, be in by 11. So they take off. They cross the border. And it's completely abandoned. The border town and the border station. So just all these weird little dreamlike touches. They cross the Panama Canal, which is way smaller than they thought. It's like the size of a little gulch. And they drive their car through the jungle. I love this when they find French Guiana. They actually have their own Eiffel Tower made of bamboo there. An official comes out of nowhere, speaking French. And right then the Emmy Lou says, wait, is that her name? Whatever. The childhood crush says, "Oh, I'm supposed to be home by 11. I better go." And she poofs away. The officials haul Philbert away. They're going to take him in this truck. But then they see this kind of old-timey ship in the harbor. They drop him and run. So Philbert runs to the dock and says, "Ahoy, pick me up." And they grab him. And they say, basically, "You're going to be a slave. We're going to sell you for a couple $100." I guess they've re-legalized slavery. So they throw him down into the hold. There's this guy, the Count there. The guy, he's like the whip master. And instead of making him row, everyone is chained to these bicycle things. And so instead of rowing, that's what they do to propel the ship. But I mean, they're still galley slaves. I mean, they still are chained up. And he whips them if they're slow. So they're doing a little speed test, just so the captain can water ski. And then Philbert thinks to himself, this is terrible. I gotta get out of here. God, I love that kind of cartooning right there. Just really, just good stuff. So he gets the keys from the jailer, frees himself, and dives into the water. But then he can't stay afloat. He's sinking and sinking, but the water becomes so thin that he can breathe. So it's kind of cool. He's having a good time exploring the bottom of the ocean. He sees what he might be the lost civilization of Atlantis. It really just looks like those little castles you put in a fishbowl, though. And he figures if he walks uphill, he'll eventually reach the shore. And of course, it takes a long time. And right when he's about to make it to shore, this giant fish, even though it looks very cute and happy, I love this picture of him. It's like he's trying to lick him and taste him. So Philbert makes it just in time and escapes that giant, goofy fish. He sees like a resort, and he walks up to it, and all the words are in Russian. And the Russians grab him. Philbert says, I'm feeling deja vu. It seems like every sequence he's hauled away by some authorities. So he goes to trial, claims ignorance that this was a Russian island. They give him 2 years. They're lenient with him. They only give him 2 years for trespassing in solitary confinement. He has to subsist on a steady diet of vodka and caviar. He's getting really sick of it. Finally, they free him. And I guess now that he's paid his debt to society, they call him Comrade Desanex. I guess he's a citizen of Russia now. He says, you must take a job. But he thinks he's going to get a job in this nice Caribbean island, but they send him to this island in Siberia, in the Siberian Sea. Of course, it's freezing, it's miserable. He just gets to just shovel snow. That's his job. But at nights, he avidly studies his book of communist dogma. He's given a promotion, and then another, and more. And pretty soon, he has so much rank that he gets special privileges. He's allowed to leave the island whenever he wants. So the guy says, yeah, you can leave whatever the next plane is, but it'll cost you 100,000 rubles. So Philbert says, there's no way, I can earn that much money. So he's going to figure out his own way to get off the island. So he goes out into the wilds, and he captures all these polar bears and wolves and lemmings. He sews together all the hides of these animals and makes a hot air balloon. I like this patchwork balloon. He lands in Red Square in Moscow. He goes to the Kremlin, and he says, I have an urgent message for the Politburo. And someone says, the Politburo is not here. It disappeared in 1952. So he's totally confused. And as he looks at one of these Russian-style cathedrals with the onion domes, he says, oh, I realize that these onion domes aren't just decoration. They're sophisticated antennas for certain types of cosmic radiation. That totally seems like one of the weird things you would discover in a dream, with dream logic. In the dream, it's like, oh, that's so obvious. How come I never thought of that? And then you wake up and you're like, that's so dumb. So he asks someone to confirm his belief, and he says, yeah, they used to call those God antennas. So Philbert wants to find out himself. So he runs up the stairs. Just so much fun cartoony in here. And then he gets in one of those onion domes, and he feels this bolt of energy zap him. And he says, I'm glowing. I feel different. And when he comes downstairs, everyone bows before him and wants to kiss his feet. So he's like, I think I know what this is. Suddenly I have charisma. So the onion dome antenna gave him charisma. So he says, all of you, get up and follow me. And he heads towards Red Square again. The government just runs away. The communist government just says, they're here to kill us all. Head for the steps. So when they get there, when Philbert and his crowd get there, it's abandoned. So he says, we're going to start a new government. No more of this oppression. And they all elect him the new leader. Or at least they proclaim him that. So he says that he's going to bring lasting peace to the world with his power. And so he starts looking for the red phone. You know, the phone to America. They say all of our phones are red. And they're like, hey, here's a red, white, and blue one. So he says that must be it. He calls up the President of the United States. And the President hangs up on him. After he suggests that both countries throw away all their weapons and sign a treaty of eternal friendship. So he's so pissed off. Next he says, where's the button? You know, the button that launches all the rockets. So just because he's pissed that the president hung up on him, he launches all the nuclear missiles at America. And then, of course, the president's calling him on the red, white, and blue phone, and he's ignoring it, just letting him steam for a while. And he finally answers it. And the president's like, what have you done? We'll be forced to retaliate in kind, you know. I like how Philbert suggests to him, he's like, well, you know, you could still save millions of lives. You could not retaliate and not kill all the people over here. Of course, he doesn't go for it. So he says, let's head for the bomb shelters, everyone. And it turns out the bomb shelter is like basically built for 3 people. And everyone crowds in. Look at this crazy mess. And Philbert can't get in. He doesn't seem very concerned, though. He says, I'll just go upstairs and watch the show. I've never watched a nuclear bomb go off before. And he says, here they come. Some sort of missile. And he says, it's falling apart. A parachute is opening up. It looks like a 1958 Buick. And then all these other missiles open up with parachutes. And it's a Chris Craft cabin cruiser, a golf cart, Cadillacs, Learjets, Winnebagos, motorhomes. And there's a note that says, our beloved enemies, greetings from the U.S. Since we are all undoubtedly dead by now, revenge would be a meaningless and futile gesture. Therefore, we are sending, instead of bombs, our national treasures and cultural relics for you to keep and enjoy. Signed, the president. So I guess the people of the shelter heard all this commotion, and they're just like, wow, all this nifty stuff. And I guess compared to all of this glitzy, awesome shit, his charisma starts fading. And he hears a phone ring, a public phone. And even though he picks up the receiver, it keeps ringing. And it's because it's his alarm clock. I've been dreaming all of this. Almost ends like a little Nemo episode with him falling out of bed. Oh, there's one more page, sorry. And he says, I understand it all now. My dream explained it all to me. I better write it down quick. So then he goes down to the unemployment office to try and get a job. He can't get a job. So when he comes home, he says, well, you know, who cares? I got the secret to all existence on this piece of paper. And when he picks up the piece of paper, it's all in like gibberish, and it kind of looks like Russian gibberish. And the camera pulls back, And Philbert's back where he started, just sitting at his kitchen table. I just love this. I think that is 40 pages. That is probably one of the longest underground comic stories of all time. It's huge and totally entertaining. I loved every page of it. So here's what I'm talking about. Here's the Gilbert Shelton's Advanced International Motoring Tips. And the style's a little different. A little more stylized. This one, he's in London. Shows you all the differences there. The tiny cars, because the huge gas taxes they had. Driving on the other side of the road. He says that in England, they all drive like fast as they can, but there's no accidents because people actually obey the traffic laws there. That's all it takes, I guess. And then we have another one of these nice Gilbert Shelton paintings. This is Gilbert Shelton's studio. Apparently he's away. He's on a roller skating tour of Europe. And he's going to be gone for 7 more years. This comic came out in 1980, by the way, if you're curious. And we see his, he was working on a sculpture of Wonder Warthog. He was doing a beautiful forgery painting and working on his memoirs. Not nearly as elaborate as the other paintings, but pretty fun stuff. And once again, these are really just ads for the Rip-Off Press catalog, so it's like a nice bonus. So there you go, guys. A very special issue of Rip-Off Comics, number 6. I don't know if the rest are just going to be all Shelton, but if they're anything like this issue, I'm all for it, because this is a really impressive underground comic. I can't believe, I can't think of any underground comic this long, I guess for Jack Jackson's historical stuff, but pretty damn good. I mean, the whole issue is great. This is a really stellar issue. So hope you guys enjoyed looking at it, and I hope to see you next time here at the Herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.